All right, so I hope everybody's having fun. You've made it to room 3, so that's fantastic. And I'm just going to show you how I go about making these next units, I, J, K, and L. They're basically like half rectangle squares or half square rectangles or whatever you like to call these units. I'm not even sure if they have an official name, but that's what I'm calling them. And they're kind of weird in that there's a few things about them that make them very unique as far as cutting and sewing and even the trimming. So I'm going to show you how I do them to make them the most simple way. And then you can go about it and hopefully it will work for you. If you have a better way, fantastic. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is grab a handy dandy rotary cutter and ruler. And of course, the only ruler I can find is enormous. So these are going to be my I and J pieces. So two each of the colors 3 and 2 are going to give you 2 each of the unit I and unit J. So you'll have to do this twice because you need 4 total. So what you're going to do is take your color 3 and put it on top of color 2. All right. And in doing that, you want to make sure that they are actually both right sides up, which is a little strange too. You don't want them right back. You want to be looking at the right side of color 3 and you want the right side of color 1 to be up as well. Okay, I think I'm actually going to use this because all I need to do is slice and I don't want to have like an enormous ruler. So now I'm going to slice the I's going this way, corner to corner, and the J's going this way, corner to corner. So I'm going to just do that, put a straight edge right on the corners there and slice, and there we go. Okay, so now I'm going to separate them out. And what I want to do is I'm going to have my J's over here like that and my I's over here like that. Okay, so now I'm going to have 2 each. I'm going to take them to the sewing machine and I'm just going to put them right sides together. And I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch on all 4 of these. And you don't have to do anything special about that. You don't have to really worry too much about offsetting the points or anything like that, at least not the way I do it. Maybe you have a better way. If so, fantastic. But when I do it, I don't even offset the points. So I'm going to go do that and then come back and show you the trimming. All right, so now we've got 2 I's and 2 J's all set. And I don't know about you, but the hardest part of this type of unit, the half rectangle square, is the trimming for me because I'm always afraid that I'm going to get that diagonal to be like completely out of whack. So this is how I deal with it, and hopefully it will help you out. So these need to be trimmed to 2.5 by 3.5. So what I've done is I've just taken some painter's tape and marked that off on a small ruler, and that way I know what I'm aiming for one thing. Now, what you have to do is ignore this 45-degree line because we're not cutting using that. We're cutting really using the actual measurement that we need for our piece to be. But the other thing that we're going to take into account is, if possible, or as much as is possible, I should say, you want to have this diagonal land on the 2 points, the point right at 3.5 wide and the point right at 2.5 tall, shall we say. So when I put it down, I want to see if I can get that pretty well. And right there, it looks like if I trim it like that, I'm going to hit that point here. I'm going to hit that point here. And I don't see any of my of my pink mat showing through, which means that there's probably just a teeny little bit left underneath there to trim. So I'm going to trim, then I'm going to turn it around, and this should be pretty simple. I'm going to make sure that I have that edge lined up there, and I'm going to put it so that I can line that up, and then trim. And then there we are. We've got our 2.5 by 3.5 inch piece. Take that off so it looks a little bit better. And same thing here. I'm going to angle it and aim. Here I'm having a little bit of trouble because, you know, I'm not a perfect sewer. So if I have to have just a little bit more showing on one end, I'd rather do it with my color 1 in this case, or I guess that's color 2, excuse me, color 2. But quite honestly, it doesn't matter that much. So then I'm going to try again here, get it as angled as possible. And remember that we cut there, so let's do that. Actually, once we have it down there we go. It is going to get cut off just a little bit more up there, but that's okay. It's the best we can do on that one. Okay. So like I said, it's really a matter of doing the best you can. And if you have a little bit of a 1/4 inch there, it should be okay. It may not be a perfect point, but it's not going to be the worst thing you've ever seen in your life either. So here I can really do a pretty good job of getting that corner right in there and then push it up just a teeny bit to get there. And then if I put that in the corner there, oh, look at that. That makes me so happy. I've got both points meeting just fine right there. So that's just what works for me. Like I said, if it's not perfect on one end, it's not the end of your world, hopefully, as you know it. I think there are bigger things to worry about in life than a point that might not be completely perfect. I know I'm weird that way in some cases. A lot of quilters do think it's the end of the world. If you learn nothing else today, maybe you'll take that away, that it will be okay. And hopefully yours will come out fairly close when it comes to needing that point to be fairly in the middle there. And, you know, really, as long as we've got this angle in the middle rather than, you know, off to one side or the other, that's what we're really aiming for with trying to trim them. Okay. All right. So now we're ready to do K and L, which are going to be made from these pieces that are 2.5 by 3, or is that right? No, 2 by 3, excuse me, 2 by 3. So once again, I've got my color 3 on top, and I've now got color 1 on the bottom. And again, I'm going to slice diagonals. The K's are going to go in this direction and the L's are going to go in this direction. So I'm going to take my straight edge, slice, take my straight edge, and I'm going to slice and match them up so that I've got my K's looking like this. And my J's looking like, oh, that's weird. There's no star on there. I got confused. Like that. Okay. So now I'm going to take them over to the sewing table. I'm going to sew them up and then I'll be back for the trimming. All right. So now here I have my K's and my L's. So we're set to trim these. These get trimmed down to 2 by 1.5, which is kind of a strange size. I still had you cut them 2 by 3 rather than have any half sizes in there, just because I thought it would be easier with the cutting and a little more straightforward. It does mean that this one, there's a little more play in the long direction when it comes to trimming these guys, but that's totally okay. A little more play is never a bad thing. So this time I'm going to set up my ruler 2 inches wide by 1.5 inches tall. Okay. Now you might wonder, well, why can't I do it 1.5 by 2? I mean, I suppose you can, but this is just the way that works for me. So again, you may have a better option, and good for you if you do. This is the option I am employing. And for those of you who don't have any option at all, I highly recommend this. All right. So now, once again, we're going to take these, and you can see that because we cut it at 3 inches, it is quite a bit longer than what we need. So you've got some play in there to work with as far as like finding where your points are going to hit that diagonal line. And therefore you might end up with them just slightly more biasy. I know that's not really a word, but I like you making up words, than you might have if you didn't have more room to play with it. It's all right. They're small little pieces and they're going to get sewn to something in the next step. So you'll be fine. And we're going to cut that off. And then, of course, that corner is going to go in the corner here, and check it out. Look at the perfection. Oh, it's wonderful. So again, we're going to kind of angle it so that we get both of those. It actually makes them even more perfect than the I and the J, quite honestly, because you had that room to play with it. There we go. And then we're going to take these. I don't really recommend those look like they wanted to get cut at the same time, layered on top of each other. Don't do that. You need to be able to see your diagonal, each individual one, as you're doing this. So we're just about there. I know this was very exciting for everyone. Let's see, I'm going to slide that down a little bit so that I can get that. There we go. That looks pretty good. So when you turn it around, you just want to make sure that you put that cut corner in there, in that corner by your tape there, and then they end up so great. So like I said, you'll have to do that twice for each of your, because you need 4 total, and we only made 2 each on all of those different cuts. But you can see it didn't take me very long. I didn't even show you the sewing part, but that didn't take very long at all. So go ahead, get those guys done, and I promise that's the hardest thing you'll have to do all day.